So now today we're going to learn about slope. The first thing I want to go over is at the top of your paper, this is your foldable with your flaps, please write that slope equals m. You're going to see slope today and throughout the future referred to as the letter m. Okay? So to start things off, I want to tell you that slope, or m, is equal to rise over run. And now we're going to kind of go over what exactly rise over run means. So I want you to look at the first flap, positive slope. We're going to flip this one over. So the first thing that we talk about is, why is this one positive slope? Well, you know in English we read a book going from left to right. Example 1, find the slope of the line shown below. So we're reading from left to right. We read a graph the same way. We're going to read from left to right. As I go from left to right, is the line going up or down? Well, to get from this point to this point, I actually have to kind of go up and to the right. So this line is in fact a positive slope because it is going up. So remember, we just wrote down that m is equal to rise over run. Well, now we need to figure out exactly what the rise and the run is of this slope. So if we look at, this is point 1 and this is point 2, because this is the one we encounter first as we go from left to right. This is the one we encounter second. How do I get from point 1 to point 2? Well, I need to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and I need to go to the right 2. So my run is 2. So now I can plug those numbers in. I know that I went up 4, so I have a positive 4, and I went to the right 2. My run is 2. Now all I need to do is simplify my fraction. 4 over 2 is actually 2. So the answer to this one is 2. Okay, we'll come back to this part later. Flip back open now, negative slope. So again, reading the graph from left to right, is this line going up or down? Hopefully you said down. Again, slope is equal to rise over run. So take a look and to see, which point do we encounter first as we go from left to right? Well, it'd be this one. So that's point 1, and this is point 2. How do I get from point 1 to point 2? What do I have to do? My rise is actually going to be going down to get from point 1 to point 2. My run is going to go to the right. Well, how far did I go down? I went down 1, 2, 3, and I went to the right 1, 2. So when I plug this into my rise over run equation, I'm going down. We say when we go down that we go negative. So this is actually a negative 3, and our run is always going to be positive. We're always going to the right, it's always positive, and that's a 2. I can't reduce 3 halves, so my answer is that the slope of that line is negative 3 halves. So notice again that this was negative slope. With it being negative, we have a negative answer. When it was positive, we came up with a positive answer. So if you have a line that is going up as you read it from left to right, make sure that your answer is positive. And if you have a line that's going down as you go from left to right, make sure you have a negative. Let's take a look now at example 5. This one says that we are going to have 0 slope. So as I go from left to right, this is the point I encounter first, so that's point 1. This is the point I encounter second, that's point 2. How do I get from point 1 to point 2? What's my rise? Remember, m equals rise over run, and hopefully you've noticed that they don't go up or down. To get from 1 to 2, I don't have to go up or down. So my rise is 0. What's my run? Well, I have to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. So my slope is 0 over 5. Well, what is 0 divided by 5? It's 0. So the answer to this one is 0, which is good because this is the one that has 0 slope. You also need to note that a 0 slope, when it has no rise, is a horizontal line. Please record that that is a horizontal line. You will need to remember that. And the last type of slope that we are going to have is no slope. So again, m equals rise over run. Well, let's take a look at these 2 points. Which one do I encounter first as I go from left to right? Well, you kind of encounter both of them at the same time, huh? So, how do I get from one point to the other? Well, I either have to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or down 5. So let's put 5. But what's my run? Do I go to the right at all? No. So my run is 0. Remember, friends don't let friends divide by 0. Anything divided by 0 comes up in the calculator as an error. So we're going to say that this is undefined. And when it's undefined, what type of line is this? If it's going up and down, what do we call it? It is a vertical line. Vertical. So an undefined slope comes up with a vertical line. Okay, so now we're going to go back through and do the bottom example under each of these flaps. But in order to do that, you need to know the equation for slope. So remember, we had to have 2 points. So given 2 points, we have an x1 and a y1. Remember, these ones just mean that we're talking about the first point. And then we have an x2 and a y2. So this would be point 1, and this would be point 2. Now we can use those values of our coordinate points to find the slope. We do this by knowing the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's go ahead and practice that now. So let's look at example 2. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points below. And we're given the points 5, 2 and 4, -1. So I'm going to say that this one is point 1. I'm going to label it x1, y1. And I'm going to say that this is point 2. And I'm going to label it x2, y2. So now we just wrote down that our slope equation is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now we need to plug in the values that correspond to these variables. Our y2 is -1. Our y1 is 2. So remember, part of the equation is a minus sign here. So minus 2 all over x2, which is 4, minus x1, which is 5. And now we just need to simplify this fraction. Well, we'll do the top and then the bottom separately. -1 minus 2 is a -3. -1 minus 2 is -3. And 4 minus 5 is -1. -1 goes into -3 3 times. And remember, a negative over a negative becomes a positive. So for example 2, our slope is +3, which is good because, again, we're under the positive slope. So we need to have a positive number. All right, let's look now at example 4. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points below. We're given the points 0, 6 and 5, -4. Again, our equation is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's label our points. I'm going to call this x1, y1, and this one x2, y2, just so I don't get things mixed up. y2 is negative 4, and then I have to subtract y1, which is a positive 6. x2 is 5, and then I have to subtract 0. Well, negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10, and 5 minus 0 is 5. Negative 10 divided by 5 is negative 2. So our m is equal to negative 2, which again works out perfectly because we are under negative slope. So we better come up with a negative number. All right, let's take a look now under the zero slope. Example 6. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points below. Again, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to call this one x1, y1, and this one x2, y2. So my y2 is a 4, and I'm going to subtract my y1, which is also 4, and then my x2 is negative 3, and I'm going to subtract 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. Negative 3 minus 0 is negative 3. 0 divided by negative 3 is 0. So the slope between those 2 points is 0. And the last one we're going to do now is example 8. Find the slope of the line that passes through the points below. So one last time, our slope equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to call this x1, y1. And I'm going to call this x2, y2. Now let's plug in what we know. We know that y2 is negative 2. And then I'm going to subtract y1, which is positive 2. And then my x2 is 5. And my x1 is also 5, so I have to subtract x1, which is 5. And now I need to simplify. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. And 5 minus 5 is 0. But can we divide by 0? Hope you said no. That means our answer is undefined. It has no slope. All right, if you have any questions, please raise your hand and I'll come around to help you.